Move.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I will actually do the pledge. So please stand if you can. Ready, begin. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee
Okay.
Zazie Jones, I will ask one of the choir teachers to come help us with uniformity in doing that next time.
Please, thank you. We are familiar with our meeting norms. And now we will report on action taken in closed session. I believe I am up first. I need a motion. The administration requests taking action on the recommendation for an expulsion for the following student, number 21-22-20. May I have such motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I believe Dr. Baltasar Sabah and Dr. Simon also have some information from closed session.
Thank you, President Zazie Jones. The governing board voted 5-0 with Trustee Rojas and Trustee Rubio absent to approve a written settlement agreement for resolution of OAH case number 20211000515. The resolution includes district assessments and funds for educational services and attorney fees in exchange for full waivers of all educational related claims against the district to date and case dismissal with prejudice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Simon, I believe you're up.
Thank you very much. On a motion by Trustee Padilla-Salzberg, seconded by Trustee Ocampo, and a vote of 5-0 with Trustees Rojas and Rubio absent, the board approved a leave of absence for employee 131392. And in addition, on a motion by Trustee Ocampo, seconded by Trustee Tabera, and a vote of 5-0 with Rojas and Rubio absent, the board appointed Ariane Zamudio as the new Director of Human Resources for classified staff. We're very excited to welcome her on board.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We now move to individuals desiring to address the board. I know this is a little different in virtual format.
Yes, I have none tonight.
Okay. So then we will move on. I just lost the agenda. I apologize. I believe we are, yes, employee organizations, CSEA and SBFT. Do we have representatives, presidents from those organizations here tonight?
Yes, so we have, if we can start with SVFT,
Okay.
Ms. Bassler has 2 meetings going on at the same time.
Okay, President Bassler, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, balancing this life is incredible. So thank you, Board of Trustees. It's odd to be in remote again, but we know it's best for everybody. I know we were all hoping that another spike wouldn't occur, but we're all painfully aware that we're in the midst of yet another variant impacting our community, and SVFT wishes everyone health and healing during this time. SVFT would like to begin by thanking CSEA and administration for all the work they did last Thursday and Friday to distribute the test kits to families to prepare for the opening of schools. Steve McDougall and I visited each site on Friday and spoke with CSEA members and most administrators and saw how they serve the community, how the community just depends on our schools as hubs for information
Yep.
and resources, which is how it should be. And they greeted families and students with such compassion and professionalism. It was really uplifting. So we thank you all for your work. And now there's a list of just concerns that SBFT has. First, we've lost to retirement one of the most important people in our district, Chris Perez. And we know that her replacement, Lysandra Sanchez, will do and has been doing an amazing job. But the board should recognize that many SVFT members were not paid appropriately or on time. And I've worked with Anna and Lisandra to resolve it, and they will be resolved this month. The problem is there's this reputation that our payroll department is somehow ineffective. And I care about the people in that office, and I know they do the best they can. And we need to do better. Our members did the work, and now they're not getting paid when the pay was promised. So we look to working closer with sites and with payroll to make sure that we can start to mitigate these problems. The next topic is short-term independent study contracts. We spoke of this in the fall. This is how we can recoup ADA from students who are quarantined. However, this model was mirrored by independent studies where teachers only have 35 students. I would like the board to know that with the number of students being quarantined right now, your classroom teachers have up to 150 students. And I spoke with one student who right now already has more than 25 students. And that was on Tuesday for contracts that this teacher has to try and teach and at the same time manage this very cumbersome program in order for the district to recoup funds. SVFT made an agreement with the district to pay teachers 25 or 1 hour when students were quarantined, when we had very few students quarantined. So if you have one student quarantined or you have 35 students quarantined, you still get 1 hour of pay. This completion of these contracts is burdensome for CSEA, for administration, and for teachers. The district will benefit with recouping ADA funds, which is important to everyone. But we'd like the board to recognize that right now, the compensation is not commensurate with the work. And we have got to figure out a better way because of this spike. The next topic is in lieu. SVFT would like the board to know that we proposed an increased rate for compensation for teachers covering classes during their prep period, and it was refused. Last spring, the district paid $80 an hour, paid out. The reason that's important is right now with in lieu, you can either take the pay or you can take time off. Well, if you continue to give teachers in lieu and they can take time off, you're only making the problem worse. Now you need more subs. It was forward thinking on SVFT's part to incentivize teachers to cover classes because we don't have enough. And this problem this week and probably next week will be very problematic. We ask for the the board's support with this. In recognizing SVFT members that have been doing work, your curriculum specialists or TSAs, teachers on special assignments, have been covering classes while they still have work to do at their desks. We've proposed that they be compensated up to 3 hours when they cover a full day's assignment because they still have to go back to their desks or work from home to do their primary jobs. That too has not been countered, and we ask that the board support that as TSAs are pulled from the work that they do, that they are compensated for their time. I don't know if you were provided this information. On Monday, there were approximately 121 certificated staff out. Tuesday was approximately 126. And I believe today was about 127. I'm not sure what tomorrow looks like. Dr. Simon updates us regularly. But we have about 50 subs a day. So you can imagine that we are short between 50 and 60 subs every day times 5 or 6 periods. So it's a lot of in lieu that teachers are covering. Looking forward, SVFT would just like to put on the board's radar that this is the season for staffing. This means we need to start looking if we are actually going to prioritize our students with disabilities and English learners, staffing and looking at our numbers so that we don't run into appeals and grievances next fall when we don't have the right staffing and class size to meet the needs of English learners and students with disabilities. Currently, there are classes that have more than 30 students with that are English language development. Will be appealing that class size, but it's because of the poor planning that these ELD1s and ELD2 students are sitting in classes that are too large, even in second semester. We're trying to figure out how to get through this week and next week. We're only at day 3 and everyone's doing what they can to support sites. Our members are, and we need everyone in the district to be doing everything that they can. We've heard of folks going out to sites to help, and then there's nothing for them to do. And I understand that. It's very difficult to try and figure out how to get someone to help you when you're just treading water. So we have some ideas of how folks can help. First, please help cover classes. Teachers are exposing themselves to COVID when they take on another class. Please, you can help monitor attendance. Your attendance clerks are having to take phone calls, change absences to COVID. You can help with that. We can help with the development of these short-term independent study contracts because that's falling on the administrators and their secretaries and then getting them out to teachers. There's a lot of work that can be done. And we look forward to getting through this spike. We need to stay healthy. We know there's a lot of positive cases and SBFT wishes everybody safety, but it's really difficult with this highly contagious variant. So please take care. And I know this list was long, but there's a lot going on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, President Bassler. We always appreciate your insight and words of wisdom. Do we have anybody from CSEA? I'm going to take that as a no. So
No, we do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Maria Villalpando?
I apologize. I can only see 4 of you.
I was on mute talking, so I apologize.
Okay.
Maria?
Okay, I'm on. Thank you, President Bassler. I really appreciate everything you said. So my communication, and it's like I said, I'm just reading what Lucy gave me. Good evening, Superintendent Burns, members of the board and cabinet. CSEA and the district are getting close to completing negotiations. Thank you, Dr. Simon and Mr. Lynch, for collaboratively working together to get it done. As classified staff return back to work, we are finding ourselves overwhelmed with IS contracts for students who are ill as well as enrolling students. Due to the surge of the new variant, CSCA is asking that the district outsource a company to help our custodial staff district-wide to help deep clean our schools. This would be for about 2 to 3 months, and we can revisit this process afterwards. We ask that the company come 3 times a week to clean the areas that the students use the most: restrooms, locker rooms, and cafeterias. Now is the time not to penny pinch and say that it's a cost to the district. The safety of our students and staff must be priority to our district. If the district feels it is a cost, then postpone approving the 3 positions that are under the consent items. Use the money to where it is needed. Board President Sassy Jones, Vice President Rubio, and members of the board, it is your responsibility to keep our staff and students safe, and so our teachers can teach and our students can achieve their academic goals. We ask that the district act immediately and not procrastinate. Why can't we send students home with test kits once a week until the surge goes back to normal? CSEA would like to thank Frank Lynch, Director of Classified, for his dedication to Salinas Union High School District. He will be truly missed. We wish him well in his new position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that important information.
Madam Chair, I have a question. I have a comment.
Okay, Trustee Ocampo.
Thank you. In regards to the request from CSBA, the cleanness about our school sites, the bathrooms, I was under the impression that because we have the relief of COVID money implemented in a district, we were doing it already. I was under that impression because that's a priority. So when I hear this comment, it threw me off. So I
just,
would
yeah,
request the
just
district.
For
to,
point of clarification real quick. This is not a dialogue part of the agenda. However, what Maria Villalpando is referencing is we are short-staffed because staff are out due to COVID. So in the meantime, bringing in some extra folks and outsourcing to bring them in to help. So we are cleaning the facilities, but it would help to have additional support from the outside. So, just for clarity on that piece.
For clarification as well, Mr. Burns, even though it's not an agendized item, but it is a priority due to COVID-19 in our campuses.
Yeah,
So
I understand that. I understand that,
okay.
but
So
yeah,
you mentioned we're short-handed, which your staff handed. So I'm assuming you becoming proactive, and we have to do whatever we can provide to do.
yes.
I wouldn't discuss
I'm just going to answer
further
yes to
it's not
that
there.
because it's not on the
But-
agenda. I'll
Right.
send you some
So-
info.
I know, but a while ago somebody discussed something not related. So anyway, that was my comment, safety in our school campus.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on to board members, correspondence, and committee reports. Trustee Tabera, I will begin with you if that's okay.
Sure. I just want to tell everybody that, it's a real stressful time. This,
Trustee Taber, we lost your sound.
Trustee
now
Tabera.
that,
Oh, there we go.
can you hear me?
Yes. And no.
We could for a second. You want me to ask somebody else, Trustee Tabera, and I'll come back to you? Is that okay? Is that okay?
The COVID, the last variation of the COVID is really hitting this valley, this town, and every little town down the valley really bad. And we're gonna feel
We have lost you again,
To
Trustee.
let you all know that
And
my wife, Belinda Rocha Tavera, recently retired from Hartnell College, and she did 35 years across the street and ethnic studies in early childhood education as an EOPS counselor, and prior to that, when she was a lot younger, as a student who came from Greenfield on the bus every day to get an education. And she has spent the last 35 years of her life across the street at Hartnell College as a faculty member. And so I wanted to let everybody know that the boss finally retired. Well, yeah. And so that's it.
That is awesome. Congratulations to her and to you. Fantastic. Okay, Trustee Felice, any comments tonight?
No, I have no comments tonight.
Okay. Trustee Padilla Salzberg, any comments tonight?
Ah,
I don't have much comments. I just want to wish all of you, all the staff and students, our community, just wish them well, you know, to be well and to be careful and do everything we can to be safe. Just that's my wish for everybody at this point.
Thank you for that. Trustee Ocampo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like, first of all, to start with by saying welcome back to all our trustees, all our administrators, and all our teachers, and all our students. It's nice to see you all back. Even though we're struggling with COVID-19. Second of all, I would like to say that Mr. Burns and Phil Tavera and I and the superintendent of the Alisal Union District attended a 2x2 meeting in our district to talk in regards about changing the menus and providing our students a more healthy and nutritious lunches. The meeting went pretty good, actually. We picked up a lot of feedback, and our two COEs were there, Ana Guillon from our district and Irene Vargas from the Alisal Union District. And I do feel that both of them become acquainted with each other, and I'm hoping that whatever we discuss is going to be followed through. They have a central kitchen where they can do all kinds of things, fresh meals. They don't have 17,000 students. They only have probably 6,000 students, but they're able to make 10,000 students on a daily basis. So I suggested that our administrators to start looking the possibility to provide catering to Alisal students and find out the way how we can, enhance together, collaborate together. Because due to the fact that I received so many phone calls and emails from parents from Alisal, complaining about the menus and the food on campus. I know that there's a lot of people saying, I've been there, kids don't know what they want, but we're not talking any longer about the kids. We're talking about the parents on campuses. And when I visited the campus at Alisal High, it really breaks my heart, to be honest with you, to tell you that I saw so many parents during lunchtime bringing kids burritos from home. Not fried chicken or McDonald's, homemade food. And when I approached these couples and I asked, I mean, is your sick have allergies? I couldn't ask another question. And they said, no, he just don't like the food service. And I said, okay. And I saw parents the same way. I walk inside the campuses and I interview close to 40 kids. Some, they don't care about the school menu at all because they have the money to buy food. And other ones, they don't eat because they don't like the food. The only kids that are eating in our cafeteria are those that are social, economical challenge. And like I said, it's breaking my heart. And it's a mother and it's a grandmother of a kid who's attending a school there. I get all these videos through my granddaughter, and I never show them to anyone, just keep it to myself as information item. But it's coming up to a point where our district really have to take this issue seriously, because food is a priority for a kid when it comes to school. Our kids do not have breakfast at home, so they're expected to eat in our school. Why do not we provide healthier food in campus when we have the money? We got the money because of the 88. So my question is, our districts are willing to work together, and I'm happy to see that, even though it's going to take in. I've been pushing this for 5 years, believe me, off and on. And I have people on the line saying, if you need me to come to the trustees and protest, Ms. Ocampo, you can call me. And not just from Alisal High School, Ever Alvarez and Salinas High School as well. So I'm telling your trustees to really pay attention to these issues. Third of all, let's see. Third of all, I would like to say that we are going through difficult times, and this is not the beginning of the issue. We don't know how many variants are out there as we evolving. And I do feel that our district, has have so much money in regards to COVID-19 that if we have to hire extra personnel or increase hours, whatever we got to do, we got to do it. I don't feel comfortable by hearing with your personnel, with your staff, with your staff. I'm sick and tired of listening with your staff in cafeteria, with your staff in this, with your staff. So my question is, where is the problem? Where is these problems all coming from? Who's dealing with the hiring process? Do we have to hire extra people in a district to focus on these items? I mean, I do not know, but I'm here to express and share my happiness and my worries, and requesting to the administration, please, please, issues are coming in the cafeteria. And the only school that is focusing more in the issues in the cafeterias is Alisal High School. The issues are going to start at El Salsal Middle School. Okay, I got a call today. I'm not going to listen to the manager. I'm going to do my way. I don't care that he's been transferred to El Salsal Middle School. And I'm reporting all these issues because this is my report time. I haven't shared this with my superintendent, with no one. So I just want you to become aware that sometimes we try to solve an issue in one place, but when we send personnel that are not training to work in the cafeterias, like bus drivers, they go help out. They don't know how to sell products out on site in the Costco. They don't know how to open up the register. They haven't been training, Mr. Burns. And that's another thing that I received today. If we are sending people out there to help out those extra hours from buses, drivers, or janitors, whatever, why don't we train them before we send them so they can be totally prepared and help out, instead of taking time away from the people that are short-handed already? So please look into that, and I will wrap it up and continue on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ocampo. Not much to say tonight. I have to admit that I am somewhat disappointed that my first meeting as president is virtual. I would be happy to never do a virtual meeting again, although at least we have the capability of meeting as opposed to not meeting, so that we can get our work done. I was pleased to watch the CSBA webinar on the first read of the governor's budget last evening. I actually did that instead of our board meeting because we couldn't meet in person. And much good news. There are some important issues that were ignored, but I'm confident that that those issues will be addressed. But I'm sure, Anna, you were equally pleased at the optimistic outlook for California's economy. I also was pleased that Governor Newsom signed an executive order expediting the substitute finding process to in agreement with Trustee Ocampo's concern about short staffing. There is a nationwide labor shortage, as we all know. It's hitting multiple sectors, and in schools where students are dependent on adults to provide a plethora of services, short staff takes on a whole new meaning, right? Because we can't replace those people with bots, and we can't provide those services without actual human beings. So this is not to overuse the word unprecedented, right? And then meanwhile, we find ourselves in another COVID spike, which is a little bit unfathomable. So in light of all of that, Happy New Year. Welcome back. And my gratitude to all of you here at this meeting, my fellow trustees, the administration, our SVFT and CSEA representatives, and of course, teachers and staff and students. Couldn't do it without you. We've never been this challenged, but I know, right, that we will get through it. Okay, thank you. Superintendent Burns?
Yes, President Zazie Jones. Thank you, and I appreciate the flexibility of the board. We obviously were not going to have a quorum yesterday in person, and erring on the side of caution, we were able to at least move to tonight. So thank you for that flexibility, and hopefully you all stay well so that we can meet in person on the 22nd and talk through some of what I just heard. So couple announcements for us tonight. So obviously center to everybody's thinking is COVID, and we hope that all of our staff had a few days off to rest and reflect over the winter break, and we know it was shorter. We probably felt a lot shorter than normal because of the fact that most of us were thinking long term about what we were coming back to and how we would be able to make sure that we have protocols in place to do our best, right, in managing this COVID crisis. So we all know that this Omicron variant has become worrisome, and for a lot of different reasons. It's easy to transmit. There's not a person I know that doesn't know somebody that has been exposed or that has had a positive test for this variant, if you would. So we know it's rampant in the community, and we know people are doing their best to manage. So, but it's also good to hear from the science community that even though it's easier to transmit, it's less deadly, and especially less deadly for those that have a vaccine, a full set of vaccines. So we want to keep that in mind, and let's really put our energy around following what the science tells us there, right? So I also want to thank our district staff for getting the buildings ready. Last Monday, we picked up the COVID take-home kits for students, and within 2 days there was a plan and a rollout process. To quote one of our principals, we've become really good at drive-up processes, drive up to pick up things, to deliver things. And so I appreciate all the staff at every level of our staff for putting that together and meeting the needs of our families. We had a tremendous response from the community. We probably had over 70 to 75% of our students and families pick those up. So that was a great response. And we know that over the weekend, over 400 students used the information to actually report that their test result came back positive. So that was a good process for us to use and a good process for families to follow. Let us know so we could get them support and to also be able to keep them isolated away from the rest of the students and the school sites. So we know that doing that though, students are missing a lot of instructional in-person time. And it's unfortunate However, it's the best way for us to keep the learning environment safe and still be able to offer as much in-person learning as we possibly can. So a lot of work is going into this. Things that you've heard tonight about independent study contracts, extra work, more volume of work, a lot of new processes in place. They're not about the district recovering money as much as we're following the processes in front of us to be able to support students as much as possible. And so also, I want to remind everybody that our leadership staff in the district, which also includes our union leaders that you heard from, everybody's been very collaborative and really looking at what are the protocols in place, what have we already had in place, what are the things we need to add to, such as the additional resources for custodial support, to make sure that we continue to keep our learning environment safe and healthy for everybody. There's a lot of unseen work that takes place. There's every form of communication is utilized right now for us to get in front of and then to manage and mitigate what we're dealing with COVID. So I want to thank everybody for that collaborative work. There's a lot of talk about why not close the schools back down, right? So what are the decision-making points that go into closing schools down? Well, I have to tell you that there's a different set of variables today than there was 2 years ago, right? So the federal government and the state want school districts to stay open for in-person learning at the fullest extent they can. And they really haven't given a lot of outs for school districts unless the local public health department declares some type of emergency crisis or scales up the pandemic to something more than what it is. And beyond that, the only other options we have is we can look at shutting down for a day and then adding the days at a different part of the school year if needed. So the decision making is a lot different today than it was March of 2020 through July of 2021. So quite a bit of difference that goes into that. In terms of some approximate numbers, I threw out a number of people that called in, but we've had probably in the range of 700 out of the 16,000 students who have contacted the school to let the school know they're home on a COVID-related absence. And I mean COVID-related because they might be an exposure, somebody in the home, they might be waiting for a test result, or they could have COVID themselves. So that's what we're working with right now. We know that could go up and down as students are moving in and out of our buildings and they're around more people in that setting. We talked about independent study. Our instructional staff wise have been phenomenal in supporting the students this week, as they always are, and chipping in and supporting students in other classes, or in some cases actually having to combine some classes, things of that nature. But we have about a 2.5% increase in the number of staff who are out this week over what we normally have. So give or take about 20 more of our staff are out each day this week so far than we normally have. And those are not all COVID related, right? Meaning they do not have COVID themselves, but we have families dealing with a lot of different types of things that come up, right? So beyond COVID. So we're watching those numbers daily, and we'll look at those to see if we have any type of opportunities to get in front of if we're going to have a larger percentage of people out due to COVID. So I'll keep you up to date on that. Moving forward, we're going to continue to look at those rates over the next couple of weeks. They're anticipating that in the next 2 weeks or so, that the variant should begin to scale back down. And if that's the case, we will make adjustments as we go from there. So I will continue to keep you up to date on this information as we go forward. And if you have questions that you need to follow up with me on later, you're always welcome to reach out and have that dialogue. So I'll stop there for the night.
Thank you, Superintendent Burns. Moving on to action. We'll begin with the resolution number 22-01 regarding Black History Month. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Trustee Tabera. Do I have a second? Trustee Padilla-Salzberg. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion
Good.
passes. Moving on to item B, approve the school choice process for 22-23. May I have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Trustee Tabera. Second.
I'll second it, Trustee Jones.
Thank you.
Before-
Trustee. Oh, go
Before you
ahead.
take a vote, Trustee Zazie Jones, I just want to let the board know, one of the slides in here has some enrollment projections that we've sent back to the demographer to review once again, just to make sure, but it would not change the recommendation that for school choice that we close Salinas High School, Alisal High School, and Rancho San Juan High School due to the projected enrollments being over capacity.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So we have a motion by Trustee Tabera, a second by Trustee Ocampo. Any other discussion or any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to item C, partial tentative agreement between SUHSD and CSEA with salary and benefits. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Thank you, Trustee Tabera. Second? I'll second.
Okay.
Any discussion, any questions?
I think this,
I have a question before you call the motion, Trustee.
Yes, go ahead, Trustee Ocampo.
Okay, on that one, it's about facilities, right? Yeah, that was my, okay. I read through the whole information.
Trustee Ocampo, this is about the partial tentative agreement, the TA between the district and CSEA.
No, I'm sorry, never mind.
You're good with that? Okay, so let me just call for the vote then. All in favor?
Hold on. You have Trustee Padilla-Salzberg.
I'm sorry,
That's
Trustee
okay.
Padilla-Salzberg, I apologize.
no, that's okay. Due to the fact that there is an increase to a salary for CSA members, I need to step away from the dais. Since we're not at the dais, I will now turn off my video and walk out of my office, right?
Good.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to call for the vote, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Perfect.
And we can tell Patty she can come back. So moving on to item D, adopt board policy number 1330, use of school facilities. May I have a motion?
I'll
Motion
move.
for discussion.
Okay, so Trustee Tabera moved. Do I have a second?
I have a second for discussion, Madam Chair.
Perfect. Trustee Ocampo seconds. And now questions or concerns? Trustee Ocampo, go.
Okay, I read through the whole policy of the process of the facilities, and I think it was pretty clear. The only thing that I noticed is that I didn't see anything about the gym. Do we ever rent out the gym facilities?
Yes, we do. So and in the fee structure that's with that, it also has the fees that are associated with renting out the gyms. Yes.
Okay, those gyms, are rent out to profit, I'm assuming profit and nonprofit agencies. Am I right?
Yeah. So the policy, it's written so that no matter which facility that somebody asks to use, we follow the same list of priorities. It starts with nonprofits.
Okay, great. That's a good answer. My second question is this. I've noticed that when we rented out the soccer fields, we cannot, and correct me if I'm wrong, we cannot rent in them more than 2 months.
Yes, so the policy has, that way somebody cannot rent it for the whole school year. Now they can establish a permit after 2 months.
After 2 months.
Yeah.
Under your experience, Mr. Burns, or Ana Guillon experience, what has been the history of this protocol? Do they have renters that rent it out for less than a month, or they try to rent it out more than 2 months? And we do not approve them because the police does not allow that?
Yeah,
How
let
do
me
you
give
do
you, yeah, let me give you an example. So, my experience is that some people will put a permit in to use it one time. And then some people will put a permit in because the season lasts 4 or 5 months and they want to use a field for 4 or 5 months. So they will have the first 2 months approved, then they resubmit a permit for the rest of the season. We do have the authority within that policy though, to look at the whole season as well. And as long as we're being fair and equitable to our community. So one of the examples we had in recent years is there was a church organization that wanted to use a classroom space at Everett Alvarez High School. And so they put a permit in to use it for the whole school year. And so we said to them, you have to put a permit in every 2 months. And they did, they followed through and did that.
And when they, okay, when they, I think I kind of remember what I read, that it says that you have to address the person in charge of facilities. Who's that person? At our district or at the transportation district?
Yeah, Anna, you want to?
Sure, definitely. So once the first step is for the user to submit the permit, the request, then the request goes to the site. So it will go to the principal and the activities directors for them to really look at to see if the facility is available. Once they take a look at that, then
No, I understand because that was the written on the policy that you provided. It's right there what you're saying.
Yeah.
I guess my question to you and I is, who's the one who finally approved the item or the request?
So the final approval is at the facilities office because we need to make sure that we receive the certificate of insurance and any required documentation.
I understand that, but who's the person in charge? Maybe te lo voy a decir en español. ¿Quién es la persona que tiene el poder para aprobarlo al último?
Yeah.
The final approval is, you mean the name? So it's our facilities clerk, and her name is Desiree Brown.
That's what I wanted to know. See, the name doesn't sound familiar to me, so I wanted to know who was the person, Anna.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for that answer. I'm done, Mr. Burns.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you.
Trustee Tabera has his hand up.
Trustee Tabera.
Superintendent Burns, could you give us some examples, give the board and maybe members of the community who might be watching examples of groups that submit paperwork to use our facilities? Because I made a statement at one of the board meetings in the past, and I'm pretty sure I was correct, where a lot of different community groups use our facilities. And I think people need to understand that our facilities are used all the time in this community.
Yeah, so our schools are community facilities, right? So we will get permits from baseball programs, youth soccer, youth softball. We'll get volleyball programs that will use gyms, basketball programs that will use gyms. In the past, we've had the YMCA use the swimming pools at some of the sites. So our facilities are pretty open to different organizations around the city. So we've focused our conversation the last year with this topic on soccer, but it's beyond soccer.
I know.
It's so much more in terms of usage. So having an equitable policy like the one you have in front of you tonight really covers all of the different types of organizations that could use our facilities.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Tavera, for that. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, so I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of adopting this board policy number 1330, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So moving on to information, item A, first reading of board policy number 5131.2 on bullying. Are there any questions? Okay. First reading of item B, board policy number 5144.1, suspension and expulsion due process. Any questions? Okay. Item C, first reading of board policy number 6161.1, selection and evaluation of instructional materials. Any questions? Item D, board committees.
Yeah, so just briefly, it's not an action item. In the agenda planning meeting this session with President Zazie Jones and Vice President Rubio, we talked about board committees beyond what we just signed up for in December. And so one of those that we talked about adding in is a committee for the board leadership, at least, to meet consistently with the Associate Superintendent's office to look at student achievement. And so I'll be putting that out for you to look and see if you're available to attend. So, so that was just an information item for that because we just talked about it last week.
Perfect, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Trustee Ocampo.
Thank you. I have a question on that since we're talking about board committees. Mr. Burns, is that talking about creating committees where every board member can participate in different committees within the school district?
So that's a good question, Trustee Ocampo. So this is just expanding the ones you already signed up for, the ones that trustees sign up to participate in. Like I believe you signed up to be in Community Human Services on that committee. So it's just an expansion of that. So 4 years ago, I added a budget committee and 2 board members signed up so that they could come learn more about the budget in depth. And so this is an expansion with adding one to look at student achievement, and we may add more down the road. So to validate some of your concerns about food service, this may be an opportunity for us to make a board committee to look at food and nutrition as well. So
That's great. That is great. I'd like to hear that. And I also would like to ask and add to some of the trustees that even though we're committed to different committees already and sign up for, I do feel that as an elected official, if you feel the call to develop a special project in working with students at risk or ESL students or just the students in general, but finding a way to build up a project of your own. We are 7 trustees. And I do feel the call to work with foster kids in our school district. And I'm meeting, I haven't told this to Mr. Burns. I keep too many things away from you, Mr. Burns. You know what? This is where
no
way, Jose. So I have a meeting with CASA coming up on board. And they target kids between the ages of the elementary to the high school district. So Robert has the same idea in mind. And this is a kind of a special project that I like to start working for and reaching out those kids that are foster kids at a middle school, at a high school, that they need guidance, support, motherhood, fatherhood, and start talking to them about finishing high school, college is for you, scholarships are for you. And this is the call that I'm receiving right now in my heart. Yeah. And thanks to Mr. Burns, because he approached me about 6 or 7 months ago, reaching me and asking me, Sandra, have you ever thought about doing this and that? And I said, yes, I have, but I haven't really decided when. But this is, even though the timing is not totally correct, but you know what? We're gonna meet on Zooming, and we are scheduled to, and I'll keep you posted, Mr. Burns. Promise
Perfect.
you.
We'll connect. Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Ocampo and Superintendent Burns. So moving on to item E, quarterly report on Williams uniform complaints, Q2. May I have a motion? Or, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Any questions? Okay. Finally, item F, first reading of board policy number 3516.5, emergency schedules. Any questions? Okay, so for consent, I wanted to pull one so we could talk about it separately, but
Item P.
thank
P as in
you.
Paul.
Thank you. Can we, may we please pull item P so that we can approve hopefully the rest of consent and talk about that separately?
Yes.
And-
Anybody, everybody okay with that?
Can you
Yes.
slide it up so I can see
Yeah.
P?
Okay.
Ayo,
This is regarding the child welfare and attendance specialist job description. If we could, I just have a few questions and concerns about it. So if we could, if I could have a motion to approve consent minus item P, that would be wonderful.
I will move to do that, but Sandra, did you have a question regarding,
I do, but
P
I've
and
been
Q?
for some time, but it's okay. Yes, before you call for the motion, before you pull that item,
Sandra, you're
And then-
muted. There we go.
I would like, oh, Madam Chair, since you're pulling that item that I'm also interested for, I'll support you. But I also like to put up item, which is, let me see, I don't see it, which is justice restoring, oh, did I wrote it?
R.
Uh,
Facilitator of restorative justice.
Yes, sir. I would like
Okay.
to put that for discussion as well before the motion.
So P
Okay.
and R?
With the rest of it,
Okay, so just to clarify, we're going to pull items P and R for further discussion. And we will start by approving consent minus those two items. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, I will move that we pull P and R and approve the rest of consent.
Wonderful, Trustee DeBarrow. Thank you. And may I have a second?
I'll second
Second.
it.
Oh,
Okay, so are there any discussion about the other items? Okay, so all in favor of approving consent minus P and R, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, wonderful. So we can begin with P just because it comes earlier in the alphabet. Doesn't matter to me. But if we could, maybe, is there a way to project the job description, Mr. Burns? And then I believe Dr. Baltazar Sabah might be the person to speak to this. Maybe both of them, actually.
Is it projected?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
So maybe just ask questions that you might have about this job description and
Oh,
I
yeah,
can start. Oh,
Just, sorry. I can't see everybody, so I apologize.
that's okay. I'm sorry.
No. So Trustee Padilla Salzberg, go ahead, and then if I'll follow up if you don't get to everything that I'm thinking.
Okay, that's fine. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some of the concerns that I have in regards to this job description. First of all, I think that the intent is a really good intent, and I'm happy that we will get there at one point. But at this point, I'm thinking that I'm not sure that the district personnel at the district had enough conversations with employees at the site to get enough feedback for everybody to understand exactly what this position is. For the fact of the matter would be that the employees at the site feel that some of these duties they can and have been doing. And so we haven't given them the opportunity to have a conversation and say, look, there's this position that we're creating. And for, let's say, Patty, I could say, well, I've been doing some of this work, or I can do some of this work, but there's some pieces that are not been able to get done in the attendance office. An example is that the attendance office has a lot of critical work. And one of the pieces that employees are feeling in some of the sites is that they don't have an opportunity to engage with parents and give parents enough attention like they need to call them and have conversations about their child. Your child did not come to school today. What's going on? What can we do to help you? We can refer you to these resources. They don't have the ability, they don't have that time. So instead of some of this money that's being invested in this position, be invested in having more employees at the sites to support the attendance, that maybe somebody in the attendance office that has more experience, or is the attendance technician or the attendance specialist can do some of this work at their site, and then they already have that relationship. Some of this work on here says they would be having communication with the probation officer. Well, if I'm already working at a school, I already, as the attendance technician or specialist, I already have the relationship at the site with the probation officer. Why can't I do that work instead of somebody coming and having to do that work district-wide? And some of those pieces. So I think that the piece that was missing is not having input from the employees that do some of this work. And so those are some of the concerns that I have. And that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Trustee Padilla-Salzberg. I appreciate the comments. I want to give a little bit of context to share about this position and where it came from. So back in 2017-18, there was a law, an Assembly Bill 2815 that passed that basically required the districts to have an attendance supervisor so that they would be kind of the liaison. This position is like combining counseling services with people knowing like the legality of attendance and trying to resolve like student attendance issues, right, and behaviors. So what this law said is we need this attendance supervisor to be able to reduce chronic absenteeism and work with like the assistant district attorney's office, work with the probation department, like at the, not at the site level, but at the LEA level, right? And that this person then becomes like the supervisor of the attendance people at the school sites to provide them with the training and resources that they need to be able to reduce chronic absenteeism. So in 2018-19, our district created a position called Director of Student Services in order to fulfill that requirement of having this district level supervisor. We filled that position, and then that individual left us in June of 2020. At that point, we obviously were in the midst of a pandemic. We closed the position. We moved all those duties to PPS, to the director of PPS, and that's where it's been. The reality of having that one individual do that on top of everything else that is under that job, it's not realistic, and we need someone to really focus on child welfare and attendance, to be able to coordinate with all the school sites, to be able to coordinate at the probation department level, not necessarily with the individual probation officers, but with the supervisor, to be able to have the meetings with the assistant district attorney so that we are following the SAR process. So that is giving you a little bit of background and context. So we made a decision not to create another director position, but rather really think through what is it that we really needed in order to be more effective and really provide more support to the school sites when it came to attendance. So that is the rationale for why this position was created at the district level. So we shut down the director of student services. We didn't bring that one back. And as a result, we kind of created this one, which is very similar to multiple districts in our area that have a similar position, maybe a little bit of a title difference here and there. But it does exist to provide that district-wide kind of support for the school sites. So I hope that helps at least with the context.
It does.
So I just have, I don't know, Blanca, if this is more of a comment as opposed to a question. But here we are in the middle of another COVID surge, and people are staying home, students and staff, either because they've, have COVID or they are quarantining because of an exposure or whatever. So we have attendance issues, significant attendance issues that aren't related to truancy, right? I mean, I don't know if that's if that's an accurate way to put it. But these people can't come to school because of COVID. I'm obviously speaking just about students. And then hence we have these independent study contracts to hopefully keep them caught up and capture the ADA and all of that. So I appreciate your the background on this and the clarification, and I absolutely trust your insights. But I'm just wondering if, ironically, because of COVID, and that's just a coincidental timing issue, if it's how big of a problem is this really right now? Maybe that's the question. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah, so right now, just to give you an example, right now, the Director of Pupil Personnel Services, an assistant principal, helps us oversee attendance. Kathy helps us with attendance. Anna is involved with attendance, and I am involved with attendance. So you have 5 people that we're trying to work collaboratively as much as possible to support attendance. Because we have the instructional piece, the programmatic piece, the auditing piece, the instructional support services, right? So all 5 of us have to get together to ensure that we're doing everything we can to help support students. What this would do is have one point person that would be able to take care of that with the Director of Pupil Personnel. So we're not pulling so many of us into this conversation, because there's a lot to the laws that are changing, and it has been actually, we will see that we did have higher absenteeism rate last year. We're going to see that we have a higher absenteeism rate this year, right? And so we, as a result of all this, we've had to create multiple codes that have made it more difficult for our attendance staff, and they've been amazing. They've been great at what they're doing, and as a result, in some cases we have had to provide additional hours for the work that they're doing because there's so many students that are absent.
Okay, I understand. That makes sense. Trustee Tabera, do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, more of a comment. I think, based on the way I interpret the way that the description was written, I interpret this position as an individual who would probably act as an intermediary between the PPS person, the people personnel person, but also add to our information and our wellness center information and our counseling center information with very specific information regarding our students and the reasons why they may be absent. Because when I take a look at the 2 words child welfare, I believe from what I have seen, and you could take it or not take it. Um, I don't think that, I think that if we are able to get past this COVID surge, I think the psychological effects are going to be with our young people
What a tea.
and their parents for a lot longer. And I view the situation of this position as adding to our information that will help us make better decisions, because the data that they're going to be collecting, as I view this job description, will help our board and future boards make better decisions regarding the students and their welfare, but it will help our staff as well. So that being said, I looked at the job description. I'm going like, wait a minute here. It seems like this is a heck of a lot of pretty detailed work, very analytical type of work that it has to be. I'm not saying that a person that has an AA degree can't do it. Excuse me. But I would think that the job description, the educational level should be modified to 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 also include either a BA or a master's level uh, level of education, because the level uh, of analytics that's involved in this job description, I think there's more than an AA degree. Then, and that being said, I think the third part of it should be that I don't know what level 59M is. I don't know what kind of money that is, but I would think that that this position would be very key to multiple levels within the district.
You lost your audio, Trustee Tabera.
I could, President Sassy Jones, Trustee Tabera hit on the salary. The salary range is 80,000 to 110,000 for that range on the classified management salary schedule.
Does that include benefits, or is that straight salary?
That's just
base
salary.
salary.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and Trustee Ocampo has her hand up. She also asked about that same thing, Trustee Tabera, with a bachelor's degree. So if you approve the job description, we can add that to it, that it's preferred to have a bachelor's degree.
Thank you.
Yeah, I concur, especially for that salary range. Trustee Ocampo?
Yes, I would like to say to Ms. Blanca Baltasar Sabat, thank you so much. I did read the job description, and I'm happy to see it, that we're moving into attendance. Well, it's a child welfare and attendance specialist. So there are two hats in one. And I'm so happy to hear that also, because, okay, that the five of you have been carrying on this way, and it's automatically too much. And this is precisely why I had spoke to Mr. Burns a while ago. And that my concerns in our district is that we don't have enough staff in our district, in our big district. And that I see our people working so hard, wearing so many hats instead of wearing one or two, they're wearing three or four. And my, thinking is that even though they try to do the best job doing their best, but when you're wearing too many hats, you wear yourself so thin that you don't do a good job and you make mistakes. So I'm glad to see that finally Blanca is coming up and saying enough is enough. We need to move forward and open up this position. And also knowing to know that this position was a directed position 2 years ago. And then now they brought it back to us because of whatever necessities we need to implement it for. And then it's going to release stress among Antonio Garcia, among Alma, among Etelvina, and the rest of our personnel on the main office. So I'm glad to see that. But I also have another concern. I don't mind about the job description. I'm willing to accept that. And with that modification that Mr. Tavera shared with us, to modify from AA to BA, because I did some research about it, and what I find out is amazing how how the state of California actually it just offering salaries that for a bachelor's degree salary in California is right here, starting up average at $54,500. Okay, and top, which is the earning topper, the earning top will be close to 98,000 once you have a stepping column, I'm assuming. So when I saw these and I saw the 80,000 here, I talked to myself and I said, how can we pay 80,000 to a person with 2 years of college and all these requirements that he's going to be achieving and helping out nonprofit agencies and working with the main administrators in office? This is way too much. I do not see that college and experience coming on hand. And I talked to Phil about this, and I'm glad he came across. And I'm happy to go for the BA. I would like to go for BA, but MA, but I'll stop on the BA. We can approve it tonight. And I also wanted to, oh, before I forget that, with that $80,000, I thought about it. At the beginning, I wasn't too much to agree with that, because with $80,000, we can attract another candidate for this job. But then I realized the cost of living in Monterey area is expensive. So because of that, I'm okay with the cost with the $80,000, Mr. Burns. So saying that, if we can modify this to a BA, I'm 100%.
Yeah, we can add BA preferred to the job description.
Well,
Thank
as long
you.
as we take EA and we don't put BA, I mean, we take away the AA and say requested BA, I'm okay
So
with that.
preferred, yeah, which is what we do for other jobs too.
Okay,
So
perfecto.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, any other questions or concerns?
Nope.
So Superintendent Burns, since we have another one to look at, is it better to approve them separately or can we approve them both together?
Well, you could do it either way, but the preference probably would be just to take action on this one and then go to the next one.
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve with the deletion of EA and the addition of BA under preference, educational preference.
I'll second that motion.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So on to the next one.
And I'm going to make it easy for all of you guys. My second request will be the same practically. I don't mind 1,000, just take away the AA and put the BA request.
Gotcha.
Justice?
Yes.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions? And if you need it to be pulled up, let us know. Anybody have any other questions or concerns about the other job description? Or are we good with just adding BA preferred?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
A motion for adoption.
Okay, so can we get a motion to adopt facilitator restorative justice job description with the addition of BA preferred?
Yep,
for clarification, when you say preferred, not required, that means if I interview well and I don't have a bachelor, I can still get the job.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so
it does not, let me clarify that. So it's not if you interview well, but if you have experience at the same level as somebody that would have a BA, then it makes it comparable, right? So it's not just the interview skills, but it's your experience.
Okay.
Actually, Mr. Burns, my request is to have a BA and experience on that job description. You can have You can have it an A. But if you don't have enough experience in college,
Yeah.
those other in college, and then plus extra experience, then you'll become a quantity product in my district. I want quality product in my district.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I
Thank
agree.
you.
So how will the motion read?
So you have a motion by trustee Ocampo to add the same language we added to the previous one, right? Bachelor's preferred and experience, it's already listed there, experience in the field of the job description. And so that will be added to it.
So,
Motion by trustee Ocampo so far.
so we need a second.
I'll second.
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
second.
Okay, thank you, trustee Tavera. Any more discussion, any more questions, comments? Okay, all in,
Just a question, President.
Yes.
When will these two positions take effect?
As soon as we can get them advertised and it's already budgeted. So we're already going to start looking for the folks.
All right. That's it.
okay, perfect. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we are moving on to future agenda items. We have our next meeting hopefully in person on January 25th. We also have our board study session on the 22nd. Mr. Burns, I assume that we're all hoping that we're able to be at the 22nd, but with the COVID surge, we might need to be in touch about that. Is that a fair statement? Or
I will be in touch with you and trustee Rubio as we get into the middle of next week to make sure everybody's healthy enough so that we can meet in person. That's the type of meeting for board development that really should take place in person.
Yep.
and I would say with all of us there. It
Yeah,
would be-
and if not, then we'll have to look at another date.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I am entertaining a motion to adjourn unless I have any other, yes, trustee Ocampo,
I like
you're
to-
so moved.
Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
See you on the second
I
meeting.
guess meeting adjourned, kind of weird. See you next time, right?
See you next time.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay.